It's live. It's Wednesday night. It is Wednesday the 14th of January, I think.
We made it.
Sounds about right.
We made it. We've been snatching presidents out of their bed at night. We've been turning off the power. We've been shooting futuristic space lasers from outer space at the enemy, so we can get after the Monroe Doctrine, as Brian was talking about before the show started. Anyway, it is America's Outpost. We want to thank everybody who is joining us here this evening. And we've got a special guest, Mr. Max Rymer. He is a representative in Minnesota. So we wanted to have him on so he could comment about all the things going on, because he is on the ground there making sure that that state gets sorted out. So, Max, if you want to give everybody a quick introduction, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, well, thanks for letting me come in, guys. Yeah, like you said, I'm Max Rymer. I'm a state representative in Minnesota. I represent Chisago County, which is about 45 minutes north of Minneapolis. So just far enough away to have some geographical buffer between myself, my family, and the chaos, and just close enough to know kind of what's going on. And in my private life, I own a marketing agency. I've done that for over a decade. And I've been in Minnesota for about 15 years, and it's crazy to see just in that short amount of time how much the state, and specifically our metro area, has changed for the worst. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden we find ourselves at the center of the universe, basically, for all the wrong reasons.
100%. Yeah.
Wild.
Can you comment at all about the chaos that's going on at the state capitol right now? Anything that we're not catching on the news that you can allude to?
Well, we'll go back into our legislative session in February, so next month. And from there, we're a 50-50 split. We had a political assassination of one of my colleagues in the past year. So the chamber that I'm in, the House, is 50-50. We don't anticipate a ton of substantive stuff being done. But, over the last year, we've tried to have bills come forward to prevent some of this fraud, some of the ICE cooperation stuff that you're seeing manifest now in Minneapolis. We tried to address that. And so we're just going to have probably, I would anticipate, a political food fight for the next 2 months. And then we're into election season. So at the Capitol, I'll tell you, one thing that was interesting today, I was down there, is Minneapolis public schools, because of this whole ICE shooting, they released the kids. The kids do not need to go back to school until mid-February. Well, lo and behold, you look outside the Capitol windows, and there is a middle school and high school protest happening on the steps of the Capitol. So it's unbelievable. And all of this comes on the backs of, our graduation rate has never been higher, but only about 30% of the kids in Minneapolis public schools can read at grade level. We have this teachers union. They have trained these kids to become political activists. It's a sad sight. It really is, for a state that I love.
Wow.
God, I would.
That's not the kind of education that you want those kids to be getting.
No.
100%.
Don't go from middle school straight to protesting on the state capitol.
It's by design. Everything is by design. It's midterms. I mean, we were calling it on the show. Be ready, because every 2 years, and now that it's a crucial year, we're in power, or the Republicans and the conservatives, and they need to take some power back. And so it's almost as if on cue, you would think the NPCs out there would be kind of perceptive to that, because they go through it every cycle, but yet they still just take the bait. They get out there, they grab the bought and paid for sign, they take their little paycheck that they're getting from the, whatever. And then you got the administration or all working behind the scenes to create even more chaos, which is what you're talking about, Max, by letting all the kids out of school until what? That's insane, because they're making it look like they're under siege, and they're not.
Yeah.
And nobody should be out in the streets getting in the way of federal officers. That's common sense. They all wearing those little "Be Good" buttons, and really they need to be wearing a button that says "Be Smart." Right. So
that's right.
It's one of those things, and now you're getting the kids involved on purpose. This is on purpose. Yes. Bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what's wild is, between that and then the fraud situation, I just saw that Nick Shirley came out with another video just this evening, outlining another Minneapolis fraud scheme. And this being in transportation services, where basically you have people, the proposal is you have people who can't afford transportation, or they can't afford rides, or they're mentally incompetent or whatever. And of course, Minnesota being the generous, that's what we call ourselves, generous state that we are, we reimburse for those programs too. And I haven't watched all of this hour-and-a-half long Nick Shirley video, this newest one, but it sounds like that's in the hundreds of millions of dollars now as well.
They're so good.
Max, I caught a piece of that as well. Apparently, people forget to speak English. They forget how to speak English when they go to the doctor in the state paid for transport, and the state has to hire a translator at a cost of $100 an hour for a minimum 8-hour charge. Yeah. So they're getting it coming and going. It's a complete closed loop of fraud that we're all getting hammered for. Yeah. I want to be a translator. That's an awesome job right there.
Come on, we're struggling here. We're struggling here.
I've got Google. It can translate, talk into it, and it'll spit out the answer. I want my $800 a day.
And what's wild?
It's such a racket.
It was a racket.
Yeah. What's wild about that is, okay, so you hire these third-party translation services. Well, I guarantee you, there's not a provider, not one, in the Twin Cities metro area that doesn't already have translation services there.
Exactly.
So this is probably another grift. I wouldn't be shocked if some of these translators get uncovered and they don't speak English at all.
Oh,
Sure.
That's a great point. And Max, that it actually kind of ties into this. I've always tried to look a little bit further of what kind of other fraud may be out there, and you may have a little bit more key into this being behind the scenes during these hearings and stuff. And I mean, are there any other industries or things that you're seeing that maybe the next, uncovering that Nick Shirley or some of these independent reporters could maybe start uncovering?
Yeah, one thing that you're going to see here now is in Minnesota, we went through the 2022 election. During the 2022 election, there was a Democrat trifecta that was elected. Now, Minnesota being a blue state, we still flip House and Senate chambers all the time. Republicans will take 1 year, Democrats will take the next year. Very rarely do you have all three line up. But in 2022, we did. They ramrodded all of these crazy policies through because they had the power to do it. But they didn't have any defectors. They marched in unison for everything they wanted to ram through. We blew an $18 billion surplus. The reason I bring that up is because one of the programs just went into effect in January, and that was our paid family and medical leave program. Okay. So basically what it is an extra tax on employees and employers to fund a paid family and medical leave. And the definition of family is very open-ended. You can have a sister-in-law, you can have a cousin, you can have a live-in boyfriend, you could have a friend of a friend that you deeply care about and apply for this paid family and medical leave program.
Wow.
Here's what's crazy about this. For this year, we allocated $180 million for this fund, right? Ultimately, it's if this fund runs out, we won't be able to continue to fund the program. Over the course of the last 13 days, and so we're just 14 days into January. Since January 1, from the applications that have come through, we're already about 14% of the way through the program. And
holy cow.
So
wow. We are in the wrong state, guys.
I know.
Up there, speak English.
Brett, you're talking about your family business. It's man, it's so much for actually creating things and providing value when you can just actually do this.
Wow.
It's
this is crazy. Max, why do you think this exploded so fast? I mean, we're talking 2022 and a Democrat trifecta. That takes a little bit of time to get established, to get the legislation through, to get the policies established. And here we are just getting into 2026 and absolutely nothing has happened in the new year. Okay, what a sleepy 2026 we're having. But it's in these few years, so much has happened. And it seemed like a lot of people were almost primed and ready to undertake these grifts, these scams. Why do you think it all happened on such a huge scale and so fast?
It's been a pot that's been boiling for the last 30 years. And really, where it starts is kind of these NGO organizations, Lutheran Services, Catholic Charities, these organizations that have existed as nonprofits in Minnesota, which started the mass migration problem that we have in Minnesota. Yes. So we have some really good examples of immigrant populations that have done really well, have integrated super well in Minnesota. And this probably exists everywhere, right? Like, we have a strong Latino population that does really well here. We have a strong Hmong population that are great contributors to our broader Twin Cities society. But when we jumped the shark with the Somali community, I don't think that these NGOs, and maybe they did, maybe there's a nefarious motive there, but these NGOs brought in the Somali population, which in general is more cloistered. They are less likely to integrate with broader society. So over time, these programs had been, because Minnesota's history is a white Scandinavian state, right? But Scandinavian means that we want to help our brother, we want to help our sister, we want to help the community. So these programs had existed for a while, but then you started to see as federal matching dollars came in through Medicaid, they grew and they grew and they grew. And then all of a sudden, autism exploded in the last 5 years. All of a sudden, our food programs exploded in the last 5 years. So I think you just had a population of people that was trained on how to scam. And
then they imported the people that they needed there, because I mean, it's funny, like if you think about where Minnesota is located geographically, it's like one of the hardest states to get to if you're emigrating from another country. And so there must have been this coordinated effort to get people specifically there. And it just sounds like at the end of the day, they just imported exactly the people they needed to run these scams.
And if you go back and look, let's say you've got a large population in Ohio as well, and they happen to settle around an Air Force base. You want to know why? Because we flew the Somalis in the 90s out of Somalia, flew them into those Air Force bases, and that's where they started to put down their roots, so to speak. And when you bring in a third world culture and population that is incompatible with the first world, where grift is a way of life, where they've come from, and then you allow you allow the swamp to run cover for the grifters and say, we're going to hook you up, but you're going to have to hook us up on the back. It's quite frankly, it's bribes, and it's been allowed to go on forever and ever. And finally, we've got leadership in place that is at least willing to go, that is not right. We're going to have to take a look at that. And, their lives have been put on the line. Their businesses have been destroyed. Their cars have been lit on fire. But so none of this has happened by accident. This is not some series of unfortunate incidents because we've got a bunch of dumb, bumbling politicians.
No,
it has been a coordinated effort since the end of World War II, has been grown and expanded to take this country down from the inside out. We are the last bastion of hope in the world for freedom. Period.
No doubt.
And free people are the biggest threat to those who wish to control the entire world.
You nailed it right there. It's definitely a scam, and there are key players that are from America that are in that backroom dealing area that are coming in, because these people, I'm going to say that, these people do not know how to speak English. They do not know how to write when they get here. For the most part, right? You'll have a few that know some broken English and stuff like that, but for the most part, they don't have any understanding about how to do it. For a non-charity or a nonprofit, I was, I was the chief operations officer or whatever it was. And going on there to apply for grants is rocket science.
Yeah.
It's rocket science.
It's
and
hard.
There's somebody who's like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to set up a little shop here. I'm going to start signing these people up. And I guarantee you some of these Elon Omar type characters who've got some people running some stuff, some offices open, like she just got caught up with that restaurant thing the other day. They're over there just filing for grants and then giving kickbacks and all of that stuff. It's mind blowing. I'm the dumbest person in the room when it comes to the Somalis. They are smart, man. I'm telling you, they're better than the Jews at money. Sorry if that was wrong. That's crazy.
But it begs the question though, like, obviously they've had people be able to facilitate this for them and cover for them. But it's at the end of the day, it's like, how much is it going to cost or how much has it costed us for them to be able to facilitate that for them. Yes, they're stealing our tax dollars through these foundations and stuff, but the people facilitating it, they're taking a paycheck too, obviously. So, I mean, how much of that is fraud? You know, and it's just, there's so much. I feel like we've uncovered such a web of lies that, you know, we're just starting to pull the thread and the whole thing is starting to come unravel.
Totally.
And I always ask people, you know, we have these edge cases right now with the Somali immigrants and stuff like that, but in Ohio and Maine and Washington state, you know, all these other things are starting to get uncovered. And it just begs the question, how much of our tax dollars are percentage wise going to fraud?
A lot.
I mean, it's got to be over 50%.
What are they?
Yeah. Why are that's why they're fighting so hard to stop all of this stuff and take the House in 2022.
It's
That's
like it's so vast that you're sitting here going, okay, how did we get to the position that we're in where we're sitting on $40 trillion of national debt, right? And it's almost like you look at how the hockey stick growth on our debt has accrued over just the last 20 years. It's like how much of our yearly deficit is just graft, is just grifting, fraud. Oh, if you would have asked me 2 years ago if the problem was that big and that vast, I would have said, no way. No way. It's other things. It's
under
military
10%.
spending. But you're sitting here looking and on the pie chart, our biggest line items are human services, healthcare, military, you know, but human services and healthcare and then Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare have exploded. And you're going, okay, what if 1/3 of that or 1/2 of that is fraud?
I think Scott Besson said that today.
Did he?
Then that's what's taking our country down. Like it is.
Yes.
This is the problem.
Right. Well, I mean, you total all that up in how much inflation and all this other stuff that we're as citizens feeling in our pocketbooks. I mean, that could be basically turned around overnight if you could claw back all of this fraud money. I mean, all of this pain and suffering that we as citizens are feeling is hugely a result of this. And I really think that once all this starts getting uncovered further, we're going to see like this total number is astronomical. And there's no wonder our debt is uncontrollable and we can't even pay the interest on the debt. So, I mean, and it obviously the whole movement right now is I'm not paying taxes anymore. Well, I mean,
They've been saying that for years.
There's a movement. There is a serious movement going on right now.
Definitely grown. But here's the thing that's tough is that now, you know, the federal government saying, okay, we're just going to stop. Like full stop or pushing pause on money going into, obviously money going to sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. I get that. Medicare, Medicaid. But Max, I would love your take on this. Like it seems like now the train has come to a screeching halt. And that's a good thing in some ways, right? We want to just see what's been going on. Who's on the take? Where is this money actually going? Making people reapply for SNAP, things like that. I agree with that. But you do now have a smaller population of people who rely on those services, who rely on the aid, who need it, and now they are not getting it. It's a tough position for the government to be in. Do you think this is going to get fully cleaned out and cleaned up? Do we need Elon back? I think that we do. But
we need that on steroids.
Can the federal government handle this with everything else they have going on? I mean, it's a busy time for them. Can they go state by state and clean it up? I mean, or is the news cycle just going to refill again and we're just going to kind of move on?
Just speaking from the Minnesota perspective, I know of legitimate owners of legitimate autism centers in the Twin Cities where they are doing good work. They are rehabilitating, they are educating, they're figuring out the special skills that a lot of these kids with autism have and like giving them this new door to life. Like one of them is, her name's Jennifer Larson. She owns an autism center in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. And like one breakthrough was like a lot of these kids are spellers, like they're nonverbal, but they can, and they've been nonverbal their whole life, but her son being one of them can basically spell out every one of his thoughts and has been able to do that forever. And they're just like unlocking these skills. And they're one of them where I think her autism center, for instance, is facing bankruptcy now because they do rely on that. But I don't know how you effectively go in with a scalpel on some of this stuff because
people are going to get hurt.
Yeah, I think this is the best course of action, to just pause until we can figure out what the hell is going on. Because, and are people hurt by that? Absolutely. But that is the consequence of a society that has allowed this much
right
tolerance for fraud.
I think, and not to cut you off, but you know, Trump's talking about freezing all federal funding in February. I know that's going to get locked up in courts and stuff like that, but you know, there might be a way, and this is just me surmising, to, you know, keep everybody goes under review, and they keep that funding going, even to the fraudsters, until they can actually start just knocking them out one by one. I don't know how that's going to happen. Like you're saying, it's going to be it's a delicate thing. I think it is the right thing. I know that when you're fixing things get broke. That's just the way they are. People they slip through the cracks. There's no perfect system out there, but I'd rather have that ouch in the interim. And then the people that are actually supposed to be standing in and stepping up, not the big government, but the big churches and the people who pretend to care. Actually start funding and taking care of some of these people community wise, instead of depending on big government.
God forbid. Yeah.
It's going to be crazy.
Well, you know, I always tell people, what did we do in the 90s when we didn't have multi-trillion-dollar federal budgets? We did just fine.
Yeah.
So why has the federal government's responsibility continued to expand? And they always do it under the guise of social services and helping those less fortunate than us. And it's our duty and patriotic duty to pay taxes, and it's bullshit. You know, I tell people the biggest analogy I can use is a vampire needs a donor for its blood to stay alive, and the government needs you, the taxpayer, to be its cash donor. So they are a vampire trying to suck the life right out of you through taxes, payroll taxes, sales taxes, transfer taxes, whatever the tax is. They just tax. The government really doesn't care about you. If they did, they wouldn't be doing this to you. And I know it's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, but if you look at that, I would say, and Max, you're an exception to the rule. I would say most people in politics today, they're in it for themselves. They're not in it to do their duty, their civic duty, and do well for their fellow man. They're in it for the fame and fortune, because it's not really about the money, especially when you get to Congress. It's not about the money. It's about the power and influence, because the money's already a given. You got the money. Now you're here. It's game over. Dan Crenshaw.
About to say.
Right.
You know, I mean, you know,
well, Max, you certainly didn't sign up for this. I'm sure when you ran for office, you weren't thinking you'd be smack in the middle of the biggest firestorm of fraud uncovering in the nation that we've probably seen in our lifetimes.
No, it's wild. I mean, Minnesota is I think in population, we're the 24th most populous state in the country. And between just the illegal immigration problem that's being rapidly uncovered and this fraud issue, you know, Tim Walz running for vice president was in some ways just such a huge blessing for us, because it finally turned this bright light onto our state, which has been rife with corruption. We are as corrupt as California, as Illinois, as New York, but because we are just this little northern state population wise, we haven't gotten the same attention. And I think him running for vice president, by the way, like, praise Jesus that didn't happen, because I think that was his exit strategy, to be quite honest. I think he saw the storm coming.
He's like, I'm going down.
I was like, I'm getting the hell out.
Immunity.
Going to DC.
Immunity. Hey, Max, real quick. Do you have, I know this is off topic real quick, but I just want to get this out because we're having a great conversation. Are you maxed out in Minnesota? Are you done? Are you just going to stay there? Are you going to go to Senate, or are you going to run for something bigger to make a difference?
No, so I like where I'm at in the state house, because I still have my business to run. So I get to do this part-time, you know, like a lot of people treat the state house as their life. I can't do that. State representatives in Minnesota make $40,000 a year. Like, I couldn't pay for this equipment with that.
Somalis make more than you, man.
Way more
into the daycare business. But I don't have any ambition that way. I like the limited role that I have. So
I feel like there might be a bigger calling than on your life than what you're.
I appreciate.
I think you
that.
suspect that too.
Deep
down inside, we'll see what happens.
We support you. We support
Absolutely.
you. Hey,
Thank you, guys.
what do you think is going to happen with Tim Walz? There were articles of impeachment being put forward. Is he the only one who's going to go down for this, or do we think we're going to be able to topple a couple of other
That's
ridiculous leaders?
That's our challenge.
Yeah.
Like that is on me, and that is on us to make sure that we're leading with, this is a systematic problem, right? Tim Walz is a symptom, but this problem is Democrats, all of them, were in on this in some way, or turning an intentional blind eye, because what they're trying to do, they're trying to Joe Biden Tim Walz right now. They're trying to say, oh, the fraud, the rampant, abuse of our police officers, blah, blah, blah. That was all a Tim Walz thing. Let's get rid of him and bring in our Senator, Amy Klobuchar, to run for governor.
Lord.
God.
Sure. He's the fall guy.
Yeah.
That's why I ask you that specifically. I mean, is he going to be the fall guy? And,
Yes.
It's so bad. It's so widespread, so egregious. Like, I mean, you don't feel bad for him.
A teeny bit,
for like a half a second.
Well, Kyle, like imagine, because he's spiraling right now. Like, this is a guy who's going to press conferences and he's talking about we're frantic. He's like, we're declaring war on the federal government. Like, it's
great choice of
what
words.
is going on? But when you think about, I actually get why he is mentally broken right now, because to go from, you are one breath away from being the second most powerful person in the country, to all of a sudden this all happening, the Nick Shirley video coming out, and then you are radioactive. From that to that, where they're going to make you the fall guy for everything that you read in the news about us.
You need to convert.
Spiraling. It's actually like, and I'm signing on to the letters of impeachment just because when you watch those things, it's like, okay, it's Nero right now. Like,
that's still the right thing, right?
Yeah.
It's still the right thing to do, but that doesn't mean you stop there. And people who did know about it and covered it up, or at the least, they turned that blind eye and they were colluding in this fraud by doing so. I mean, you still need to suss that out, and there still need to be consequences. And so, while I believe that he should have resigned immediately over this, he just kind of dug the claws in.
Yeah.
That now impeachment, unfortunately for him, is the path forward, because he won't leave, right?
Yeah,
so
and he's crazy.
Leave with your tail tucked, or you're gonna leave in shame. He's
going crazy. Like, I'm legitimately, he's having a press conference tonight, like while we're talking. I'm legitimately worried about what he is going to say at this press conference. And by the way, it not just being him, there is audio of Keith Ellison talking to some of these fraudsters saying, I will defend you.
Wow.
And then it comes out that the very same people who were convicted in the Feeding Our Future fraud scandal, only $250 million, by the way, so drop in the bucket. But it turns out that they're all donating to his campaign.
Yeah. It's so messy.
Yeah. It's gotten into the judges and all the, I mean, who knows where it's ending up. It's incredible.
Well, they can share a jail cell.
Say that again?
That they can just share a jail cell together, and write their memoirs. I mean,
your mouth to God's ears. Yeah.
I mean, they're going to get what they deserve. Wasn't there also the judge that had to resign? She was convicted for helping.
Wisconsin. Yeah.
Oh, that was Wisconsin.
That was Wisconsin.
Yeah.
No, she was convicted of that.
Yeah, she was convicted. She had to step down.
She didn't just step down. She got real busted for it. And I mean, that was pretty clear cut. And it was, I think, for a moment, nationally, we thought, wow, someone's actually having a consequence assigned to illegal behavior. And I think here, and as this travels to other states, like, we do want to see it. That's the comment I get most frequently when I post about corruption, specifically in California, my home state, is people are like, that's all great. Thank you for telling us that, but nothing will happen. Nothing will be done. And we're starving to jail. See, the right thing happen for these politicians who seem so insulated and protected by the system right now.
Well, and I think people like the judge in Wisconsin that got convicted, I think you're going to start seeing these little low hanging fruit people start getting convicted, sentences in that way, and then it's going to start elevating in the hierarchy till we get to the top. I don't think you're going to get the kingpin, so to speak, at the very beginning of all this when people start getting arrested. I would hope that it would work that way, but your Tim Walls's, your Fall Guys, Tim Walls would be a nice one to actually see in handcuffs, but you're going to get these lower level guys before we get to the end of it. And it's just so widespread.
What about Ilhan Omar? That would
what's
be up with her. Have you actually had a conversation with her at all?
I've talked to her once or twice. Yeah.
Was that interesting, or was it very brief and non-personal?
Pretty much, non-personal. Pretty much the same person that you see on TV. Like I haven't seen any kind of like play acting from her. This is who she is.
Wow.
And with her, right, it's pretty obvious at this point that she committed marriage fraud to get into the country, or to get her brother into the country. And then fraud is baked into like her DNA, just because now it's common knowledge that Ilhan Omar, because she is a hero of the left, gets a ton of donations. You can't use those donations for personal expenses. Well, then she goes and marries a guy who runs a political consulting company. And it turns out 90% of what her campaign has spent money on is this consulting company. Yeah. And it's to the tune of tens of millions of dollars since she's been in Congress.
I don't want to think about what kind of consulting that is, team. No to all of that.
The fun kind of consulting.
As soon as you said Ilhan Omar, my live got restricted on TikTok. The window popped up.
Did it?
Your live is not eligible for recommendation and restricted in search for the next 10 minutes. Yeah.
We didn't say COVID.
So we're certainly over the target because the moderation, they said the word.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Well, and talking about the politicians that have been insulated, the Clintons did one of these numbers to James Comer in his subpoena, and they threw Steve Bannon in prison for not
for way less.
Way less, yeah.
So are they going to go after and get the Clintons? And I've got a theory.
Are they really?
Well,
that's the kingpin. That's the tip top.
Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake.
That's it.
Well, let me here's my theory on all this. I think we're getting some of the low hanging easy fruit, right? Let's just go after the stuff that's easy. You need to save the big October surprise for September, August timeframe. So we have leverage, at least in the mind of the voter, that finally things are getting done. And some of these key Democrats that have been, avoiding prison are finally going to be taken down. So I don't think it'll be an October surprise necessarily, but it'll be an August, September, October surprise when some of this shit starts flying around that needs to happen. So if you take them down too early, the court of public opinion.
Time it just right.
If you take them down too early, we have too short of memory spans. The leverage, the mental leverage you'll have on the voter would be gone. So I think they're going to hang on to some of that, hopefully build cases that are much more solid, that can't be thrown out on technicalities like with Letitia James and that ding dong from the FBI.
But get us some some sprinkles in there every once in a while to keep us motivated.
Well, and I think that's what's happening is we're starting to see little, like I said, the low hanging fruit. And Max, the story broke on Gateway Pundit about the transportation and Nick Shirley. So guys, if you go to the Gateway Pundit, you can find that, and he's got a post on X as well with his video. But $16 million. I mean, how much of that money went into the fraudster's pocket, and how much found its way back in to the campaign coffers of these politicians who then spend that money illegally, not on campaigns.
Yeah. Well, and then speaking of Nick Shirley, we've been talking about this internally. I feel like the citizen journalist is the most powerful person right now. And you have the people just trying to jump on the train that Nick Shirley's doing and kind of copy what he's doing. Yeah. But I feel like also just having people like us and like you, Max, that are just regular citizens that be able to, expose this kind of stuff and use our voices and actually go after these fraudsters and just put them in front of the limelight like these, news organizations won't even touch because of all the implications and all the behind the scenes stuff. So, I feel like this is a huge time for us to use our platform, use our voices as citizens to be able to, uncover all of this stuff, because that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of all of us unifying together and going, all right, it's not the left or the right. It's this whole organization that's corrupt. And the more of us that can join together, left and right, and expose all of this, that's their worst nightmare. So people like Nick Shirley, if he can, team up with somebody on the left just to make it more palatable for the people on the left, which I don't understand why they can't agree with, let's all get behind that our fraud or our tax dollars are being used as fraud. Yeah. I don't know how we can't unify on that, but if he could tag team with somebody on the left and go together. And I mean, if we could unify as a country behind that, we could, sky's the limit.
I've got an answer to your question. You had Josh Hawley grilling a doctor in Congress. All he wanted her to say was that only women.
That is maddening.
That's all he wanted her to say. And she's like, well, I treat many different people. They can't. They just cannot bring themselves to admit the actual.
Because it will shatter. The whole house of cards will fall.
They can't because they will be done.
Yeah.
They'll be done.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I feel like they're already done to begin with, but now it's just lip service at this point, but it's still just embarrassing.
A similar example was that the Supreme Court case that's being heard right now, the Title IX, women in men's sports, men in women's sports. And the sound bites from that are jarring. The attorney who's basically challenging some of these states who have banned men and women's sports, he could not bring himself to define what a man or a woman was. It's like, wow, your ideology your indoctrination is so strong that you're willing to lose this case over not being able to define what a man or a woman is.
That's the point, Max. You said it exactly right. When you are arguing the law, you have to be so precise. We talk about making a hook to hang your hat on, right? The judge, and in this case, the judges, they have to have that legal hook. And this was so far from it. I was actually shocked when I heard that argument and what was being said in the court in front of the Supreme Court, that this is your one chance to make the clearest legal argument, non-emotional, right? It's not about how you feel about something or your opinion about something. It's what does the law say? And they lost that case right in that moment. I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
You're right, because my understanding, I'm not a lawyer, right? But my understanding is the premise you are trying to set here is that men should be allowed, biological men should be allowed in women's sports. And then if you acknowledge that truth, then you can make your arguments off of it. This attorney could not escape the boundary of their ideology and just essentially forfeited the case because you can't define what a man or a woman is. And he wouldn't. He wouldn't. He knows. You can tell in his soul he knows, but he couldn't bring himself to say it.
And Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was trying to help connect the dots for these attorneys.
Which was laughable.
Still couldn't do it. And that's concerning on a different level, that you have a Supreme Court justice who would try to step out of a constitutional foundational grounding there to do that. But even she was trying to make the case on their behalf, and they still couldn't do it. It's just incredible.
She's going to be a problem for them for a long time. It's obvious she should not be there.
No. She makes a fool out of herself every time she opens her mouth.
Well, she doesn't agree with the Constitution, and how can you be a member of the Supreme Court when you disagree with the document that influences and you are sworn to defend? I mean, it's just she shouldn't.
Her political influence and ideology is so very obvious every time she speaks, and you can tell, like you said, she's trying to get her argument within the guardrails of her political ideology, and it's just so obvious and just embarrassing. It's going to be a problem.
Whoever would have imagined we would want Ruth Bader Ginsburg back? I mean,
right?
Common sense back.
At least she was smart.
She knew what she was talking about, and she was replaced by not the same quality of a mind.
My favorite is the charts where it shows how much Ketanji Brown speaks versus comparing it to literally like everybody else. And you have on one end, you have Clarence Thomas, who said like 14 words, and versus like 4,000. It's like crazy.
Wow. It's like our debt graph.
Pain. I'm over here like trying so hard not to talk all the time.
No, trust me.
I feel that, but when you know what you're talking about, you know the law. He doesn't need to conflate that and flower it up. Yeah,
he's a hero, by the way. Just an American.
Oh gosh,
incredible!
He's going to go down in history. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude.
Okay,
You know,
so Aaron, I
go
have
ahead.
to run this by you before I ask Max this question because I don't want to get put back in TT jail. Are we okay? I'll be very cautious, but I want to take us while we still have him and we've got time. I
Yeah.
want to go back to what's going on, especially in Minneapolis, because
Ask away.
okay, thank you.
I'm ready.
Okay. So I want to talk about 2020 and I want to talk about Minneapolis. Are we still okay? Have we been banned everywhere yet? Because I watched the Fall of Minneapolis, that documentary that was mostly, it was like 90% body cam footage from the George Floyd arrest and what happened. Everyone should watch that.
Yes.
It is compelling. It is so
You have to.
Such a far departure from what was spewed by mainstream legacy media. It's
Right.
just incredible. I mean, just watch the body cam for crying out loud, right?
Yeah.
See what actually happened. And the city burned. I mean, people just lost their minds. They believed, they were so eager. They were kind of locked and loaded to believe that this Black man had been so mistreated and murdered, really, that they burned it down. And the police station just got it almost worse of anything. And it sort of seemed like the Minneapolis PD sort of disbanded there. And now we're 5.5, 6 years later, and we have another situation in which you've got people really riled up and on the streets and rioting, and we've had this incident with this Renee Good. And one thing that has been talked about a little bit, again, not carried by legacy media too much, is that there was a real lack of police presence at this ICE this activity involving ICE and involving these professional, I'm going to call them professional agitators, harassers. They're trained to and intend to hinder the work of federal law enforcement, and there's no police around. So I've been dying to ask you all day. I really wanted to put this in front of you while we've got you here. I mean, has the police force built back up since 2020? What is the climate there in terms of like what they think about this ICE activity? And if somebody calls them, like, this happened it looked like a suburban neighborhood. Wouldn't the neighbors be calling PD saying, look, this is getting out of control. This is really bad. Come help, come intervene. It didn't seem like they were there at all. What's going on with that?
Yeah. So to answer the first question, has the Minneapolis police force been built back up? The answer to that is no. We are just over half of what the Minneapolis city charter requires for a minimum police force.
Wow.
When that all happened in 2020, it wasn't rank and file officers. It was mainly the lack of support, especially after the fact, from the governor and from Jacob Frey, the mayor. Yeah. And so when you see Derek Chauvin and the other officers involved in the whole George Floyd situation, when you see them essentially go through what I would consider to be kind of a rigged legal process the whole time, you had record numbers of people going away on disability, police officers just retiring early, getting out of that city because they know the stakes. When their backs are up against the wall, they are not going to have a political apparatus that supports them. So then you fast forward to today, the city is not recovered. The fall of Minneapolis, it really does outline a lot of the problems that still exist. But today, now we are a sanctuary city in Minneapolis and pushing to be a sanctuary state in Minnesota. So there is not collaboration that happens between the Minneapolis police and federal law enforcement. This past session in Minnesota, I actually authored the bill to say, okay, the state is going to preempt any city's desire to not cooperate with federal immigration, because then there would at least be some collaboration, some communication. In the case of Renee Good, there were no Minneapolis police officers doing traffic control, right? So it created this powder keg environment because we have, again, politicians who are putting their ideology before the practical use of public safety. It's a tragedy. But I will just man, I've been in Minnesota since 2012, and there are areas now, uptown Minneapolis being one of them, right? When I was in college, uptown Minneapolis, I've been here. I graduated in 2012. I've been here since 2009. but uptown Minneapolis used to be the place that you would go with your friends to get a dinner that was too expensive, to go out to a club with girls who were too good looking. And it was like the place. And you go to uptown now, between the COVID lockdowns, the lack of law enforcement, and everything that's transpired over the last basically decade, it's an open air drug market. There are no restaurants anymore. There are no nightclubs that are open in uptown Minneapolis anymore. And I guess what's jarring for me is you hear about situations like Detroit, right? Where the decline happened over 40 years, you know. For me, I've seen this encapsulated decline over 7 years.
So fast.
It's crazy. It looks like the game Fallout when you go to places of Minneapolis right now, and places that I went to and were lively and vibrant and awesome. Yeah. So no, the police force is not rebuilt, and there is no collaboration between everything is to oppose Trump. That is what these politicians care about.
Well, and to add to that, there's an
biting
article,
your nose off.
An article that just came out today on the Liberty Daily. It says dozens of Minneapolis police suddenly seek paid leave with morale at an all-time low.
It's that same program that I talked about, by the way. Paid family medical leave. Cops are now saying, okay, I want in.
Why wouldn't
Can't
they
beat them,
do
join
that,
them, right?
They're watching everybody else do it. They're watching everyone else take the paycheck. They're getting attacked. They're getting harassed. They're getting doxxed. Their families getting threatened. Like, why would anyone take that job? I mean, thank God for them. God bless them.
I bet you the number one Google search is how to start a daycare.
But it's saying that sources are quoting that 60 to 70 additional police officers have turned in paperwork for Minnesota's new paid leave program. So if you already are at the bare minimum statutory legal standard for officers, and per population or however it works, and now you're going to lose another 60 to 70, and now the law says we got to give it to them with pay.
But Tim Walz is going to bring the guard in. So don't worry.
Well, until President Trump federalizes it, and then it's just going to be a ballast measure.
They just turn around.
Little Uno reverse card.
Yeah. We're walking in, we're walking out. We're walking in, we're walking out. It's a cluster.
Listen, Tim Walz's initial proposal was to use the National Guard to combat ICE agents. And good luck. Good luck pitching that to your rank and file National Guard member.
We got to shift. Hey, Max, how much time do you got tonight?
I got as much as you guys need.
Oh,
fantastic. Just keep that in mind, Supervisor Aaron.
Hey, no problem.
And so I want to talk about Trump. I want to talk about some Iranian stuff. I want to talk about some stuff that's going on out there. Aaron, do you got something?
No, I'm just typing away, answering questions.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure. No,
go, Brian. Don't lose your train of thought. Go.
No. Well,
put your hat on.
This is my brain.
All right.
My brain,
look at you, all grown up with a notepad.
Woo!
The brain.
And in other news, oh crap, what page was I on? So it's, Trump is kicking ass, obviously, and taking names later, I would say. But, I just have one question. Why can't we trade the UK for Iran, Cuba, and Venezuela? I think that's a good swap. I mean, the UK is already toast. It's just a question. I mean, I'm being serious. I know that I'm being funny at the same time, but I'm also being serious. Like,
or at least get out of NATO.
It would be nice to have Iran as an ally.
Yeah.
The Western Hemisphere free of communism and Marxism, other than the cancer that's growing in our country, and then we could start to work on that later. And really shield ourselves from all of that craziness. The fact that we've had Cuba on our doorstep being communist, and having Russia ties and everything for as long as we had blows me away. And so, it's just one of those things. And, there's just all kinds of crap going on out there. I'm going to try to stay focused here, but, first I want to see more action from the president. I think I was telling Brett or somebody, it's going to be really hard for me if nothing comes. I know they spared the execution today, which was good.
Yeah.
Which is good. Okay. That's good news. But really hard for me because like I was saying, it's like water to parched land when an American president like Trump says, take your institutions, take their name. People are fighting on and losing their lives because of his words. Mm-hmm. And for us not to do anything, that's going to be a hard pill to swallow for me. I mean, I'll still celebrate his victories, but I'll probably have a personal problem with him. So, I mean, but not everybody can do everything you want them to do, but Trump's been doing a pretty stellar job, other than when he opens his mouth sometimes on some stupid stuff, but stellar job at running the country, rooting out the corruption. I mean, we can just go on for days on how much he's accomplished since he's been in office.
Yeah. But
the one thing I'd like to see is the Iranian regime fall.
I think it's happening, Brian. I think it's happening, and he's got to move very cautiously here. We can't go in and just take it. And he's inching toward that and flexing a lot of muscle, to the point where now the weirdest statement this morning saying, well, I've gotten word that, the killings are going to stop. What? No, they're killing thousands and thousands of people. We have no idea. They've shut everything down. That's not how they operate. They don't just say, oh no, we finally,
we won't kill him today, next
bear
week.
Trump too hard and we're going to stop. We know that's not true, but this is not an easy, one to take. We've participated in regime change before. It was an absolute disaster. Yep. And I think he wants to tread carefully here. I think it's going to happen. I don't think we have a Trump 2.0 presidency where Iran does not see the changeover. I really don't. And it's painful to wait through it while so many people lose their lives. But look at them flooding the streets. It's not stopping them. And this is the most hopeful, miraculous, encouraging, incredible thing to watch these people fight for their country that they love and fight for their freedom. Yeah. And I think it's going to happen. And I think Trump is, while it's painful to see the pace, I think he's very smart to be cautious here. He knows he can push that red button. He knows he can do it.
And Kyle, I agree with you. Sorry to interrupt, but I agree with you. I think Trump has to tread lightly here, just solely for the fact that the word Middle East has such a negative connotation in Americans' mouth. Yeah. We just got out of that 20-year war, and so much, pain and suffering happened for our soldiers, Americans, everybody. That whole war was a fiasco. And so the Middle East is just, it has such a bad taste in Americans' mouth that he knows that he has to slowly inch his way in to be able to make I don't even want to call it a regime change on our behalf. Let's let the Iranian people
allow it to happen.
To allow it to happen. But again, there's such a negative connotation to Middle East. If we were just to go boots on the ground, kinetic immediately, obviously that would be a huge disaster. But I think he's taken the necessary steps to let the Iranian people take it over themselves. Let the Ayatollah get out himself. He's given him every chance to back out. So I think he's doing the right things.
I would just say that, Iranians are not Middle Eastern. Now there are Middle Easterns that live there. We're not, right. Like I'm Persian. So it's, and so one of the things is like Bill O'Reilly said it best. And this is to your note, Brett. He said, just tip the balance a little bit. Just tip it in the favor of the people. And, we did that, we took out al-Baghdadi. I don't even know how to say it because Trump messed it up for me. Al-Baghdadi. He did it with Soleimani.
Died like a dog. Died like a dog is crying.
And so if he could just, tip the balance, that would be fantastic. Because I would love, with my family, Iranian family here in America, to actually go visit relatives in Iran.
Yeah. And we're with you on that. 100% with you on that. Yeah. In here in California, especially in LA, we have a huge Persian population of Iranian people who have migrated, and talk about a population of foreigners who have integrated and who love America and work hard and are just fabulous people. We just love them. And so we are all in for supporting this and stand with the Iranian people. Absolutely. But I'm with you. We want to see it happen. And I think we want to see it happen before any more people lose their lives.
I think we got spoiled. I think we got spoiled with Venezuela, right? Where it's like, oh, we can just kidnap a leader and there's no casualties, and all of a sudden we get to take over the country.
Yeah, do that.
Take their oil.
Copy and paste over there.
He has to realize that President Trump. Of course, you can't tell President Trump anything. He's who he is. and he's going to do what he does.
Right.
But your words, they know you're a kick-ass, take names president. They know that if you people tremble at your threats. They do. They know it. But that's why they called off the executions for a week or so. Who knows?
But the people of Venezuela we're not doing what the people of Iran are doing. And I think that's the key difference, is that we're seeing the revolution happen, and that might be the key to this working this time. We had to go snatch Maduro because the people couldn't do it. They were just so broken and oppressed and overcome. And now we're watching the people take back their country, and it's so exciting to see. So I think he wants to help. And I think if it gets to a situation where that's the only thing that's going to work, I hope that we see him flex additional muscle there.
Yeah, I just need him to, be careful with his words, because each word that he says costs lives. And so and at the end of the day, I'm just a peon in the grand scheme of things, a grain of sand in the universe. But we can all hope for the best and hope that what takes its place is something better and not something worse.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And Max, on another note, since are you going to be
Speaking of
happy
Iran, back to Minneapolis.
Very similar.
Aren't you going to be glad when they really start to root out the corruption in California, so it takes the spotlight off of you? You know what I'm saying? In your state.
We want it. Come on. Give us the heat.
I like the spotlight. I like the spotlight. Listen, I think that to a certain extent that Donald Trump and his administration, with the Metro surge, the ICE agents, the exposing of the fraud, the cutting off of payments, I really do think that Minnesota is being this nationwide example for the midterms of look at what happens when you put the left in charge. And I think California has almost become a meme in and of itself, right? Like, we know they're dysfunctional. They're California.
Yeah, it's just California, whatever. Yeah.
Hopefully we dodge
that. It's okay, guys.
Alcohol sales have skyrocketed in California.
Let me take a drink to this one.
My thoughts on the whole situation is, hopefully this Minnesota thing shakes out the way we think it will. People get put in handcuffs, that kind of thing. And then we can use that as a framework to go after the bigger fish like California, and say, like, all right, this is exactly what we did in Minnesota. You've basically got the same thing happening over in California at a grander scale. So maybe, Tim Walz in handcuffs is a precursor to having Mr. Newsom in handcuffs.
Oh, don't get me so excited.
I wanted, now that we're in California, Kyle, I wanted to bring this up because I saw some polling. My understanding is California, for their statewide elections, do a jungle primary where the top two, no matter what the party is, go on to the final round. And I saw the top two are Republicans.
We have two Republicans. Yep. Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Imagine that.
And Steve Hilton has fundraised every other candidate. So they thought that Katie Porter was a shoo-in. Now, Katie Porter is like this cretin who only got put in office because of redistricting. And they've kept her quiet because we see what happens when she opens that pie hole. So she went and opened it, and a lot of people got fired, and everyone was like, no, thank you to all of that.
She has no redeeming qualities.
And she just, it tanked her. I as a media strategist and someone who's media trained candidates for a really long time, I kind of weirdly, sickly just love to see those moments when campaigns tank, because it can happen in a second. Yes. It can happen in a day.
In one live stream.
Get
out of my shot.
Yeah.
But so she tanked so quickly. It was just delicious to watch every second of that. And they've tried to rehabilitate her, but who do they bring in a state where you could put a sack of potatoes in the race and put a D next to the name and it's a shoo-in? They bring Eric Swalwell. The most hated, despised, ridiculous, absurd, unlikable. I don't want to use the R word. Unintelligent human. And the people have had it. We don't want it. We don't want it. We like Steve. We like Chad. People are really putting their weight behind them. But here's going to be the real true test. the Democrats have such a lock on the state. They've got the state Supreme Court. They've got every judge. They've got almost every district. They've just sliced and diced districts with Prop 50 so horribly that our friend Rep. Kevin Kiley from up north, he now has had his one district that he won in sliced into 6. And he has to figure out now who he represents, number one, and which district he's going to run in come November. It's just a disaster. Yeah. And the lawsuits abound. But they have such a lock that the midterm elections and our gubernatorial election is going to be so fascinating to see what happens, because they're very good at taking elections and stealing them. But we've got 2 in the lead. We got 2 horses in the lead, and we are thrilled about it. Either one.
I mean, even if they win, you just said it right there. You know, they got the Supreme Court, they've got everything locked up, and all they have to do is every time he makes a good decision, lock him up in Supreme Court, and then say, "Look what a terrible job he's doing." And, and that brings me to the
But it gets you access. The governor's seat gets you access, and that is how Gavin Newsom has gotten away with all of this corruption, all this fraud, because he does not let anyone look at any documentation, any financials. And so we want the seat there. You talk about burn bags in every corner. I mean, they're going to go scorched earth.
They're already working on
Sacramento. I'm sure they are.
Gosh, dude, they're so, listen, you think they're smart, but then you see them, their little subservients show up in the street and they start acting crazy and stuff like that. You know, dude, one of our people, light just went out, but one of our people was David Zier. You know, he made Jimmy Kimmel last night because the lady that was next to him was just like, big man, you're a big man, you know, and
just berating him.
And I'm like, you're a big, strong, powerful man. And it's the cat lady next door, you know, and it's kind of catchy. You're like, big, you know,
that's be a meme tomorrow.
That is their,
I laugh to keep from crying because that is your average suburban woman voter in Minnesota.
And so Brett loves liberal Karens. It's liberal white women are Brett's favorite.
It sustains me. It sustains me.
You've got this midterms coming up, and what I was actually trying to say, now that my brain came back to me, what I was actually trying to say is like you would think that they were smart enough, but they don't ever anticipate. They play the long game, but at the same time, their short-term thinking is stupid. And like they're not covering their tracks. They're keeping a paper and digital trail of what they're doing. It's almost like a scripted play. You're just like, you put a burn back? You kept something on paper?
Yeah. I mean, like, they went unchecked for so long and nobody even looked into it that they just quit caring. They're going, you know.
They quite frankly didn't think they were going to have to deal with Donald Trump ever again. He was either going to be one in prison or 2, he was going to be shot. Period. End of story. We're getting to the top of the hour. If you guys want to carry it over another few minutes, I'm open for it. But if we're all good to do that, let's carry it on for another 15 or 20 minutes.
I got some drink left. I'm good.
All right. Okay. Well, one thing I need y'all to do real quick. I did get a piece of feedback from a close friend of mine who's a regular viewer. He said we're quite boring. So I want everyone to go, hi, KB. Hi, KB. Everybody.
Hey, KB. My favorite guy that I don't know.
Yeah. See, I'm going to call you out if you're going to bust our balls.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So
watch your language. Kyle's here.
Maybe it's me.
Hey, this is the liveliest show we've had in a while.
It is.
I've only drank this much, KB. So
you didn't have your big fish bowl tonight?
No, I was trying to take it easy, but never mind about that.
We have a politician on tonight. We have to be proper.
Yeah. Yes.
No drinking. We need a man of the people.
Well, Max.
Well, I feel like we talked about all the saucy stuff. What else we got?
Max, I want to just what's on your mind? Like, what are you seeing that you want us as Americans, as regular citizens, to know? Like, what is some stuff that you may not see on the mainstream media that you want us to know? Tough to put you on the spot.
I think we've talked about a lot of it, right? I mean, I think that the unfortunate part is that Minnesota is a great state. It's an awesome place to live. Like, we have a community that we love. We have a church that we love. And there are pockets like that all over Minnesota. When you look at our electoral map, it really is a red state with a blue dot in the middle of it that makes all of the decisions. But, you know, if I were to let people out there know, it's like the reason that this state and this country is worth fighting for is because like it's full of really good, earnest people who are being taken advantage of. You know, that's why this stuff matters a lot. That's why the illegal immigration stuff, the fraud stuff matters, because they're taking money from just some of the salt of the earth best people on planet Earth. And you know, hopefully
let me ask you something.
Naivety. Yeah.
Let me ask you something not boring and slightly controversial.
Sure.
If you just go ahead and deport all those people in your state who are illegal, does that change the political makeup?
Well, Trump is now openly talking about those who have been convicted of fraud or who are suspected of fraud, denaturalizing and deporting. But to go back to 2016 and 2020 in Minnesota, the logical conclusion of this fraud is that if there's a population of people willing to commit such egregious financial fraud with real repercussions, what does it mean for our elections if they're willing to commit financial fraud with real penalties? And if they commit voter fraud, there are no real penalties. And in Minnesota, we have a 45-day early voting election window. We have same-day registration. You can vouch for up to 8 people. I can just say, oh, that's Brian. Brian lives next door to me. And that counts.
That is archaic.
Vote. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Not to mention then that you can also be what's called a ballot representative for up to 3 people, meaning I can take Brian's ballot, bring it with me, and I can do that for 2 other friends. But there's no way to keep track of how many maximum ballots have you turned in. And then lastly, if you are a congregative care home, or you're an old folks home, or you represent a multifamily unit, you can be a ballot representative.
Harvester,
for 40 people.
Okay, cool. So you go to so what I'm hearing is you take 40 ballots to the memory care center.
Yeah, exactly.
And you say
you're pretty sure that they're voting for a certain candidate. You're going to help them with that, and then you're going to be their representative, and you're going to bring the ballot.
Correct.
That sounds legitimate.
Yeah.
When you look at like and Bondi and the DOJ have basically like filed a lawsuit against Minnesota to get a hold of our voter rolls, because apart from the way out there conspiracies about 2020 or what you believe or what you don't believe, where like Brazil, there's some machine in Brazil controlling our voting machines. This is actually real. Where we have like what I believe we have over 150,000 dead wood voters that are used as mechanisms for ballots in Minnesota.
Easily.
So that's like that's the thing that I think is worth paying attention to. Like there's financial fraud committed in Minnesota with real penalties. If you get caught and you get convicted, you're going to go to jail still in Minnesota for financial fraud. But there is no repercussion. There is no metric to track. There is no accountability in our voting system. And so when you talk about deporting a population, or what I would be more concerned about is like, hey, can the Trump administration actually do something about our voter rolls? Because in my heart,
Judicial Watch is doing a lot. You know, I know, Brett, you talk about Judicial Watch a lot. We love Tom Fitton and the work they're doing. They specifically hone in on voter roll cleanup. Like here in California, I want to say they found like in one go, they found like 2 million in a state with 39 million that shouldn't be on voter rolls. I mean, it makes a difference when you get them cleaned up.
Well, especially with the mail-in voting and it's just, I mean, you can't tell me that mail-in voting is not just a complete scam from top to bottom. You'll never convince me of that. Yes, there is some legitimate.
You move.
You move
and you get like 14 ballots to different names with your address on it. And my friends send me photos. They line them all up and they send the picture. Sometimes it's their name several times on many ballots. It's just
Well,
it's a mess.
And O'Keefe went out and did that whole video series where he was showing how the smurfing thing works. So I followed the instructions in the video going through our local voter database, and it's happening in my little small town.
You're in Illinois, brother. Of course it's happening.
Of course it's happening. But I live downstate and 2 hours from Chicago in a little outlier outside the University of Illinois. And in this little town alone, you can see that doesn't make sense. How are they making, so we just haven't had anyone with Nick Shirley type of cojones or James O'Keefe type of gumption to go out there and do the work. I mean, you're putting a crosshair right on your forehead.
Sure. It's got to be a coordinated effort, right? Brett's talking about the citizen journalist, and then we have to have the legal side come and back that up. And then you have to have people like us who are using our megaphone and our platforms to keep it front of mind for people. You can't just have one person out there being like, hey, we're going to do something about this. It takes everybody to keep the pressure on and the fire lit under to get it done.
Well, and then to also keep it going after the social firestorm happens. These things come in waves, and right now it's fraud. Everything is fraud based, blah, blah, blah. But we have to do our duty to keep it at the forefront whenever it's not popular, to say, look, hey, remember what we were talking about over here? This midterms are coming up. This voter fraud is a huge deal. So we have to do our duty to be able to keep it in front of people's eyes and let the people, the powers that be, know that, hey, we're not forgetting about this, and we will do what we need to do to make sure this stops.
Yeah. James O'Keefe did a video in Minneapolis. I think this was like 4 or 5 years ago, where he literally convinced one of these ballot harvesters in Minneapolis that he was going to just tag along or whatever. And this man happened to be Somali, and he was talking about how he was getting paid $20 per ballot, and he had a big stack of ballots in his car. And to just give you guys a sense for how captured our local media is, there was not actual reporting on that story. It was conspiracy theorists. James O'Keefe impugns, the Somali population.
What are the negative buzzwords that I can attach to the story?
Yeah.
You've seen them doing it with they still do it. I mean, they probably did it the whole time we've been alive, but we just didn't know about it.
It's just really bad right now. Yeah. I had a USA Today in print in front of me the other day.
I
was at a place with an actual newspaper. I know you could sort of rely on it. The way they were framing what happened to Renee Good was so inflammatory and so twisted. It's like, no wonder these people want to attack ICE agents. Like, of course, the way that the media, and in a publication that you would trust, and I'm sorry, but there's something about seeing it in print on physical paper that you can hold in your hands, and your mind, especially, people who aren't, 15 or whatever. We've been around a minute. I'm not copping to any actual age here. Very, very young.
Everybody.
Thank you. But we'll get in trouble about saying my real age later. It's something about seeing it in print, and your brain thinks like, there's no way that they're going to, print something that isn't anchored to some kind of truth. And it was so bad.
And again,
I couldn't believe it.
As soon as you said it, warning, your live is flagged for misinformation. You're not allowed.
Did I do it?
No, it's I don't.
Way to go, Kyle.
This is what our show is about. You can't talk about that incident. You cannot talk about how the food supply has been manipulated, and you cannot talk about the medical system without TikTok.
I say we go hell bent for leather right now.
Say all the buzzwords.
You say all the buzzwords, right?
China's bad.
Start
COVID, CCP. I just wanted to say this, is you've got I don't know where Joe Rogan gets his news from, right? And you've got Joe Rogan, whatever, becoming like a Gestapo. And it's like, bro, you helped us get over the finish line for the last election. Thankful, great, whatever. But you need to check your news sources, and you need to do some real, deep digging. Don't just sit there and say frivolous things, man. I mean,
literally all you have to do is read the law. They are enforcing the law. That's it.
But they don't know the law, Brett. Nobody knows the law. We have a Supreme Court justice who doesn't know the law. Think about all these like federal judges, right, across the nation, who every time Trump does something, it's like federal judge in Podunk, middle of nowhere, says that's not allowed. And we're
what the front door?
No.
There was a federal judge who said Trump can't fire people who are part of the executive branch. Like,
what the front door again?
You know what? Like, immediately revoke their bar card. They're out forever.
They're out, dude. It's maddening. It's maddening, and we know what the playbook is, and it still pisses me off, and that pisses me off because it still pisses me off.
It pisses you off because it's stupid. I'm still not going to say the R word.
I think what's maddening to me is that we had so much trust in our judicial system, and now we're realizing that they're all co-opted also.
Correct.
And it's just like, well, what matters at this point? You know, if our judges can just do whatever they want and bend the law or look at this case law from 1840 to make their case, it's like, this is just ridiculous.
Or high heels are not allowed in public.
No, they just make it up in an attempt to legislate from the bench, knowing that they'll probably be overturned at some point in time. But all it does is it's lawfare. It slows down the machine. You know?
I think Max needs to get behind. Listen. Perfect candidate for Minnesota politics. He was just in a video the other day, just playing, rocking them and socking them. You know, he was just bopping those little protesters.
Yeah.
Man.
Who was that?
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Oh,
God.
man, that guy was awesome.
That guy is a
like
legend.
7 of them.
And poor guy in the red coat, he came back for more and just got
It was like, dude, just lay down.
cartoon style.
Man, I need that guy for bodyguard.
There should be a funded effort to just cart him around to all the anti-ICE protests.
This is the guy that bought those dudes.
Remember this guy?
Yeah. Because listen, that's the frustration. The leftists, a lot of these people, bless their hearts, you know, because they've been indoctrinated, they've been manipulated. When I was younger, I would watch politics and I'd be like, oh man, Bill Clinton seems like he's cool. That was as far as my political knowledge went. It's the same thing with Obama. The first
it was
term
Obama. Yeah.
I was like,
Aaron
look, we got
Gavin Newsom
healthcare, you know, like it, and all of that stuff. So that's the depth of their knowledge. And so they're emotional beings, and they get out there. They didn't have good parenting. They were able to scream and yell and get their way. And we need some rock'em sock'em going on. And nothing brings me more joy. Nothing brings me more joy than watching a protester get tackled. I sit there and I say, just all day.
You call them protesters. I wouldn't even call them protesters. Just agitators. There's a difference between protesting and agitating.
Maybe I'm
was that a woman that got dragged off today or yesterday, and she was saying, I'm
autistic. I have a brain injury or I'm
People need to understand. People need to understand. Listen, people need to respect authority. I want to be just as afraid of the officer as I am feeling safe around him, because if he's like a softie and stuff, he can be friendly, but at the same time, I want to know that if something gets out of pocket, this dude ain't playing around.
Yeah. And
we don't have enough of that. And I want to see some of these people get chin checked.
Spank your kids.
It's all good until you get punched in the mouth.
Never. But here's
spank your kids. Yes.
Stop it.
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Disagree.
That's the agitators out there. They didn't get spanked.
But Max understands this because he doesn't have that, because his PD has fled. Right? And so you don't have those people who are going to lay down the law. I'm Kyle. I do what I want. Okay. But you have that. You have those people who that is their job to do that, to effectuate the law. And now they have fled because of mistreatment, and you cannot blame them. No. But now you have this guy, you have to rely on these citizens who've had enough, and they're going to fight back. And where does that take
whistles
us?
In their ear that can damage their hearing.
Where do we end up at the end of the day there? If you have professional agitators, if you have good people who have to step in because your local law enforcement has fled and abandoned the situation, what do we have?
Right. And it should be a battery of sorts, because those whistles can hurt your ears and damage your hearing. That should be they should not be allowed to blow that stuff in their ears. No. And I'm just so grateful. Okay, don't spank the kids. I get it.
Thank you.
I'll accept that. But spank the agitators.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. There it is.
I'm actually okay with that. I'm all right with that.
I mean, you've got to attach some kind of punishment to that type of. There's a difference between, like I
Yes.
said, difference between protesting and agitating. You have to attach some kind of really hardcore punishment to it, not physical. Make it a felony. You know, if you're out there agitating and obstructing, but actually enforce it.
Okay, but listen, so they did that. Remember, they were out here in LA and they're throwing the bricks, and they put 2 people away for like something outrageous, like 20 years, and it stopped for a minute. Now you have this situation in Minneapolis where you have this woman, she gets shot in the face. Is that not a bad punishment? She died.
Right.
She died.
Yeah.
Did it slow things down? I don't know. I'm not there. Max, did it slow it down?
No.
I mean,
no. It like encouraged, like this is the thing when you talk about, and I'm in this generation, you have an entire generation whose economic outlook has been worse than their parents, right? There's more mind-altering drugs that are being used right now than ever before in history. And then because you've had your future robbed and you've had your, you know, like you don't have a faith and you're also on drugs, you like start to believe that you are like Frodo Baggins, you know, and you're going up against Sauron. And you start like the LARP, like they believe the LARP, you know what I mean? Like this young lady in Minneapolis, I certainly mourn for her death. It's tragic.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I also mourn for the propaganda and circumstances that led her
absolutely
to that position.
People don't talk about that, but that's
an entire
important.
generation.
Because they won't take responsibility for that. The people who are influencing and who are really at the root cause of those professional protesters, rioters, agitators, they don't understand the connection. They don't get it. They're culpable, and it is 100% their responsibility. And they go silent when something like this happens. And then you have the stupid ass Golden Globe. Oh, I said it backwards. You have
clip it.
Stupid ass Golden Globes. I know.
Low information voters.
No one watched. Oh no, he hasn't said it.
Drinks.
He hasn't said it.
Thank you.
All right.
Not once this whole time. And you have people with these stupid buttons and like, come the F on.
I'm gonna sell Be Smart buttons. So like,
please do.
Yeah, it's. I 100% agree with feeling bad for the people that, you know, they got talked up into the, you know, into the funnies, and so they're out there trying to make a TikTok video and, you know, grow some following, and then instead they're planning a funeral, and it's terrible, and it shouldn't be. And you're right, there needs to be penalties for the difference between protesting and agitation and responsible free speech. But the left has always accused us, you know, our guy Charlie Kirk gets assassinated in front of everybody. Everybody's living with that image in their brain. Poor guy. We didn't go out, agitate. We didn't do any of that stuff. But then they accused us of inciting violence, our violent rhetoric, and yet they're the ones out in the streets tearing shit up.
I mean, can you imagine if the left's Charlie Kirk got assassinated like that? Flip it around. America would be on fire.
Their version of Charlie Kirk is George
Rachel Maddow.
Right. Yeah.
We saw
that is the worst.
I mean, America would be on fire, especially now in today's climate where they're just looking for an excuse.
It's Rachel Maddow.
Brian
I don't know.
CNN.
Don Lemon, maybe. I don't know.
Who's on the left that matters?
No.
That's a good
Rachel
point.
Maddow. You said her. Dude, we never get to talk about people like that, right?
Yeah.
You know, I guess they could put Don Lemon in that category. Post, you know, like if something were to happen to him, God forbid, because I don't want anything to happen to anybody in that manner, right? But Rachel Maddow, listen, on another note, she has got to be the most loathsome human being.
She's a miserable person.
I know.
Miserable.
When I look at her, I even think of her worse than I think of The View.
She can twist anything
with conviction and just
anything. It is incredible. It's incredible. But you know, we also think about this. We also had the whole like Candace Owens inflaming of the Charlie Kirk situation, and so you had someone influential with a huge following who was pushing this conspiracy that everything was Israel, and it let the left and their histrionic, inflaming narrative off the hook.
Yes.
Let them off the hook.
That's a
because
good
we
point.
had this new distraction.
That's a good point.
And something to blame. And I just think she did so much damage.
Yeah, it's awful. It's
It's kind of died down lately. I mean, where is she? I haven't heard anything about it.
She's still trying. She's still at it.
Dude,
But I
she
think
said
people
something
just
about
went
Iran
off
the other
rails.
day. She said that they were fake protests. They were fake protests, and it's all being propagated by Israel.
She is still on that bandwagon that is all
she?
Israel.
Bro, what is going on?
Like I used to love Candace. I mean, she was
Me too.
she was pulling out some great stuff with the Macron stuff and all that. But then, I mean, just lately, I'm just like, all right, you got to put a muzzle on
I was
her.
getting paid like
She
that.
lost it all.
If I was getting paid like Candace, I mean, she's getting some of that Qatari money or something. Listen, I'm not even. I like some of Tucker Carlson stuff. Still,
If Qatar's listening, we need some money.
Yeah. listen. Hey, not all Muslims are bad people, and that's a true thing. I was
That
a
is
Muslim.
true.
I grew up.
All right, we're getting a little off the rails here.
Hey, but this is the end of the hour.
I know,
Come on,
we're
Dad.
approaching
Well,
the bottom
Aaron,
of the
you
hour.
told us we were being boring, and
Hey,
now
no,
we can't talk about.
I've been kind of quiet.
Muslims
I wanted to throw a
Qatari
couple
money.
things. I want to throw a couple things out there. Brian, I was watching a little reel here from RAV saying the SBA is investigating 1.2 trillion in fraud. Now, for those of you that don't understand how big a number that is, a trillion is $1,000 billion. A trillion means you could give out $1 billion to 1,000 people. That is a load of money. So $1.2 trillion in fraud.
Go SBA.
Yeah, right.
Go Kelly Loeffler.
Something breaking here.
Minnesota does.
Yeah. Well, the Supreme Court has declined to rule on the Trump tariffs. May be delayed for months. So we don't have to worry about that right now being a negative impact, at least today, on the midterms. And there was one other headline I wanted.
Sounds like you're reading sports stats. I'm like, yes, they won.
Right.
we did it. Good team won.
Rogue Biden judge blocks Trump admin from withholding food stamp funds from Minnesota. So, they'll have to go round and round about that as well.
Oh, please.
And a sad state here. Tina Peters' attorneys are back in Colorado to work on an appeal for her unjust conviction. I don't want to dive into that, but I think we're all aware of what they did to her because she was one of the key people that had the evidence and was doing her job. And just like they went after Mike Lindell, they went after her, but in a much worse way. And threw her ass in the clink, unfortunately. So, all right, this was the longest show we've done. It's been awesome. Our guest Max is down, our man on the street there in Minnesota. We would love to have you back
anytime
if you're willing. And we want to really get it firsthand if we possibly can.
You'll be our correspondent in Minnesota.
You're our guy in Minnesota.
We'll give you a press badge and everything.
I'll get my headset on.
This is Max Rymer coming in from the
reporting from the belly of the beast.
Right, we're gonna put a
We love
Starlink.
having you on.
Put a Starlink transmitter on the top of your hat there, so you can always have
straight
a good
to
strong
Elon.
signal straight to Elon. So
I'm in. I'll get the daycares to pay for it. So
fantastic.
You'll have little badges,
Perfect.
sponsorships all over.
One last, the Senate Republicans did strike down the Venezuela War Powers Resolution, which was going to restrict Trump's ability to deal with Venezuela the way he sees fit. And the way most of us want to have that happen. So anyway, all right, that's enough for the headlines. That's a great show tonight, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, helping us grow the show. And as I said last week, there's some big changes to come. We're going to make this show a bigger thing, and we want to bring you more stories, more value. We want to make sure that we don't have low information voters watching our show.
0 days.
All right, everybody.
I love it when Dad gets us back in line.
Max, you want to shout out your socials so everybody can give you a follow?
Yeah, follow me on X. It's Max R Rymer, Rymer, and that's where I'm most active and most inflammatory. So follow me there.
Bingo.
All right.
It's been awesome having you.
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
Appreciate you coming on.